Welcome back. This is lesson 5, the science of self-defense. In your last lesson, we learned 3 hand strikes. We learned the inward elbow strike. We learned the knife hand strike. And we learned the reverse punch. As you recall, those were short range, middle range, and middle to long range. Today we're going to start off with a hand technique, a punching technique, that gives you a little extra range. Most people call it a lunge punch. We call it a lunge punch because it's convenient. Some will call it a front hand strike, a stepping front hand strike, a stepping punch. It can have lots of different names. There may be slight variations to how it's done, but they all accomplish about the same thing, and that is closing the gap on the attacker that's trying to harm you. On the ones we did last week, as you recall, we were stationary. Inward elbow strike was stationary, knife hand was stationary, reverse punch was stationary. And on those, we also emphasized, especially on the reverse punch, that we wanted to have our weight shifted at the same time the hand was hitting. Well, since we're going to be taking a step with this, we have an extra little coordination challenge, and that is that we want the punch to hit the attacker just before our stepping foot hits the ground. Okay, I'm going to borrow Comrade Bob over here for just a second. And he is still without water because he's still upstairs in the better audio room, so we don't get to smack the fire out of him. But here's the deal. Comrade Bob attacked. We move back. He's getting ready to attack again, but he's from a range that is more than you can do with the reverse punch. But there's obviously an attack coming, and I emphasize that because in any jurisdiction, if somebody's out of range and you launch the attack, you're now the attacker. You can't just go after somebody if they've backed off, okay? So we're having to say, Bad Bob is preparing to attack us. Maybe he's reaching in his pocket, perhaps for a knife or a gun, or maybe he's just getting all settled up and he's ready to come flying across there in one of the TV and movie ideas of how you attack somebody. But at any rate, we've got to close the distance with him. The hand, the rear hand, the same one that does the reverse punch, is going to do the lunge punch. Now, you heard me say just a minute ago that we want the punch to strike him just before our foot hits the ground so that we have the momentum, the forward motion of the body added to the forward motion of our punching arm. Now, I really wish I could hover in midair like some of the really great basketball players, but it doesn't happen. So you have to put up with a rather twisted version of this. As the step starts, it's coming through. Just before it hits the ground out here, that's when we want Bob to be hit. Okay? So you're here, it's step, hit, bang, foot sets down. Okay? The hand comes forward just as if it was doing a reverse punch. It rolls out, it goes in a straight line, it's got the 2-knuckle contact. None of the basics of a punch change, but we are stopping his attack. Bang, and then the foot hits down. As soon as the hand hits, we get back into a fighting stance. Okay? One more time, watching it from the side. We're here, we start the step, Bob gets hit, I'm still in momentum, so we've doubled our pleasure, not to mention our power, and he has been hit. Now, what I'd like you to do is assume a right side forward fighting stance. You'll be mirroring me, okay? That means you'll be doing the lunge punch by stepping forward with your left foot and punching with your left hand. Okay, let's assume a good fighting stance. Now, I want you to come about halfway with your step. That is, bring your left foot up to your right foot. Somewhere around in here is where the punch, the arm motion of the punch, is going to be able to start. And I'm sure you've picked up by now, the reason is you can do this a lot faster than you can step from back there to up here. So the punch starts here. Let your foot start drifting forward, hit with the punch, then the foot sets down right there, then pull it back in. Okay? Now I want you to keep going, facing me, stepping with your left foot, but I'm going to turn sideways so you can sort of keep an eye on the timing of the step and the punch again. Okay, back into your right side forward fighting stance, stepping with your left foot, punching with your left hand, step through, punch, and finish the step and recover. Okay, step back, step through, hit, finish the step, recover. Okay, step through, hit, bang, recover. Step through, bang, step, good, recover. Hit, step, recover. Hit, step, recover. Let's switch to your other foot. You'll now be in a left side forward fighting stance. You'll be stepping through with your right foot, punching with your right hand. I'm going back to mirror image for you. Slowly bring your right foot forward. Get it up to about parity with your left foot. The hand starts its motion and you finish it, then recover to a fighting stance. Okay, again, step back with your right foot in slow motion, coming through. Right foot steps through, right punch, recover. Okay, one more time. Step through and punch, recover. I'll switch sides. I'm not sure if it makes any difference, but we'll do it that way. You're still going to be punching with your right hand, stepping with your right foot. Okay? Step, punch, hit the ground, recover your fighting stance. Step back. Step, punch. Step back. Step, punch. Step back. Step, punch. Step back. The question that has probably popped into your mind, and if it hasn't, it would within the next few seconds, is, well, do we really have to do that in a fighting stance? No, no. You can be standing here and someone can be making an attack at you that you see coming, and you can, in fact, from just a natural straight stance, step forward, bang. That we call an interception. That we'll talk about a lot more in a later session. So for now, start it from your fighting stance, because one of the most important things that we do in the delivery of power, which is, we want it to go that way, right, is we want to keep our head level. So as we step through, we don't want to go up and down. Okay? We want this hand to head straight for the target when it starts off, and we step through with it. The implication of that is, as the right foot, my right foot right now, steps through, when it gets up here beside my left foot, if I don't change the bend in this knee, I'm going up, aren't I? If this knee stays the same. Or I could demonstrate it by saying, if I have both legs locked, now watch what happens to my head as I move forward. You can really see it going up, way up. When it gets to here, I've risen this much. That means my weapon has picked up. And what is picked up is going to go down. So when I'm coming through here, if I've left my legs straight, doesn't work. We want the weapon to go straight into it, because when you make impact straight in, just like on a pool ball, if it hits the side in any direction, you lose energy. So we want it to go straight in. So as you step through, allow the front leg to bend just a little bit more as you step through. That'll be the trickiest part of it. Now, how do you make sure that's happening? Well, if you have someone to watch or a training partner, or if you can set a video camera up to record yourself during training, and just have a reference point on the back wall that's head high. You can pull a string down there, or you can stand underneath a string, pull it from wall to wall, and if your head stays right underneath that string, you're doing it well. It is not that it's impossible to learn, it's just that it's very important to learn it. It's why I'm spending that much time on it. So there's the lunge punch, and that being said, we're going to start talking about some of the southern weapons, shall we say. Southern, bottom half right, bottom half of the body. Okay. We have two weapons on the bottom half of our body. A foot, and about halfway down, knee. Now here's the good news. If the attacker is significantly taller than you are, the advantage goes to you. If someone has grabbed or is about to grab you in sort of a grasping bear hug, or they've gotten in real close, a person that is shorter, at the risk of being gender specific, a lady, will have an advantage delivering a knee strike. Because if you notice, the knee strike travels up. And the very best target for the knee strike on a male is the testicles. Now, it really hurts if you jam a knee into a pubic bone or anywhere down in here, but target number one, testicles. If you're shorter, you'll notice that the knee will be coming up more when it gets to that height. Right now, it's traveling forward to start off with a little bit, isn't it? And there's nothing you can do about that because we've got joints here and here, and they only really work in one fashion, and that's the way God made them. So when it's coming up, it's when we would like to hit. Now, how would we like to hit? Well, first off, we want to make sure that we've done this movement enough that we have some concept of what balance is going to feel like when we're striking forward. Because your leg is a significantly heavy part of your body. And if you're not used to it driving up, when you do that, it's going to pull you forward, bounce around. You've got to use the rest of your body mass to make sure that you are held in a good stationary position so that this strike is effective. Okay? Most people find that when they bring the knee up, if they let the foot come down, drop the toes like this, it makes it easier. Not everybody, but most. Whatever is comfortable for you. Just like we talked about on the arm, how far you turn your wrist, rotate it. Same thing here. If your foot's more comfortable being up like that, that's fine. If it's down here, the knee is what we're worried about. If a person has anchored himself to you, if I am the bad guy, this time in Bob, boy, this is hard to believe. Comrade Bob's the good guy, and I've come in and grabbed something like this. Well, he's anchored himself. He can't get away too far with his bottom half. So you've got, we're switching. Now, he's the bad guy again, just like it ought to be, right? Okay. For the knee to come up. Now, fortunately, also as we discussed, he's got a short torso, proportionately speaking, so it makes it so my knee could come up. Luckily, this is about the angle that a shorter person, who is usually a person getting attacked by a taller person, this is about the angle you would have coming up under the groin. If the attacker hasn't secured himself really well to you, if it's just kind of a, give it a name, I really don't care. Secure yourself to him. If he's out here reaching around, messing with your hair, doing whatever else you want to do, okay, you grab him. Keep him from going anywhere. Okay? Simple enough, right? Good. From your natural stance, I want you to take your left knee now. We're working mirror image. Imagine you've reached up and grabbed a hold of the shoulders of the attacker. Bring your knee up and set it back down. Bring it up and set it down. As you bring it up, give yourself a little bit of a pulling in gesture so that you're accustomed to pulling him into you when you strike. Okay, again. Now, we're going to assume that when you hit him, it was an effective hit. When you have hit someone with something effective, you don't want to just set it down and go, "Hey, I got you, man." Well, because maybe it wasn't effective. So after a knee strike, step back into a fighting stance and be ready to go with something else. Practice it going to the rear. Strike, sit down, go to the rear. You may find he's doubled over. You can follow in with an inward elbow strike. He might be going, "Oh," and you can follow with a knife hand. Or he might give you an opening for this. Doesn't matter. There could also be the situation where you hit him hard enough, you want to set down to the front. Why would you want to do that? Because if you started out with your back to a wall, you can't go that way. Okay? Let's practice it with the other foot. Okay, with just non-movement, just straight up, bang. Okay, again, pull it up, pull him in and up, pull it in and up. Okay, this time after the knee, step back into a new fighting stance. Okay, knee strike, step back, again. Knee strike, step back, again. Knee strike, step back. Okay, now this time, knee strike and step forward. Here, fighting stance. Again, here, fighting stance. One more time, here, fighting stance. The groin is not the only target. Sometimes the person will end up bent over for any number of reasons. And the next thing we're going to talk about is one of those reasons. It's called a front kick. That's the generic category because we deliver it to the front of our body. Now there are two major subcategories of front kick. There is a thrusting front kick that you drive into an opponent, and there's a snapping front kick that comes up underneath. Once again, in different systems, you may have slightly different terminologies, and if you've got some prior training, I really don't care what you call it, whatever works for your mind, but make sure you distinguish the fact that a snapping front kick is going to be striking up, just like the knee strike was. We're coming up under the groin. And because of that, for our purposes now, I want you to pull the whole foot down and curl your toes under so you're striking with the instep of the foot. Now that being said, wow, aren't there a lot of small bones in the top of your foot? Yes, there are. If you have on shoes, the fact that they're small bones are pretty much negated in the same manner that holding your fist properly for a punch or for a knife hand strike and tensing the muscles negates the fact that there's a lot of small bones in the body. The shoe will help hold those bones in place. It also is acceptable because for the upward swinging kick, the front snapping kick, all these different terminologies, when it's coming up and you're hitting with the instep, you're shooting for the groin again. Testicles, to be specific, coming up underneath them. Now, if we're going to do that, we have to make sure that we aim properly at the target, right? If you're shooting a rifle, you don't aim over here when Comrade Bob's over here. And if you want to shoot him in the head, you don't aim down here. And if you want to shoot him down here, you don't aim in the head. And our knee for the front snap kick is the aiming stake. Now, it's pretty obvious, I think, about the side-to-side motion. If I aim out here, this knee only bends forward and backwards. It doesn't go sideways. That's where the kick's going. So we've got to get the knee aimed at the target, namely Bob. Height-wise isn't quite so obvious. But what we do not want to end up with is a straight leg coming up at it. And it's a straight leg if you have it straight from the very beginning, or if you straighten it out too soon, it still just glides up. And it kills the speed of the kick. Half of your speed of your kick comes from the knee coming up fast, just like in the knee strike. And the other half comes in, extending it in the knee going out. Two different muscle groups. Your iliopsoas muscle group is pulling the knee up. Very powerful muscles here in the core. Two muscle groups actually put together into one. And extending it are your quadricep muscles. Very powerful muscles too. So we don't want to leave either one of those out of the equation. It also has a double acceleration. If you have ever water skied and the guy driving the boat, you're going along a straight line, he cuts a tight circle on you. And let's say you're on a slalom ski, a single ski. Okay? He cuts a tight circle, and you're going whipping around the outside of that circle. When you were going straight, you were going the speed of the boat. When you're going around the circumference of a circle at the same rate that the boat is making a turn, you're going much faster than the boat. So if you think of the hip being one point, one pivot point that we can build up speed off of. The alternative is with the boat being the hip just stepping forward. That doesn't get too fast, does it? Okay? But when we swing and get the knee coming up, that's our first acceleration. Now the second acceleration you can't do on water skis, and it's the pivoting off of the knee. So we've got this speed combined with this speed to make that speed. Okay? The foot will hit really, really fast. It's very similar to if we were doing a knife hand strike. We've got first pivot point, second pivot point, bang, it will hit fast. On many techniques, how fast you hit is what you get most of your power from, because there is not too much forward momentum. On this, there's virtually no forward momentum. Now, on the other kind of snap kick I mentioned, the thrusting snap kick, there is forward momentum, but we're not going to touch that here. That's a completely another animal. It just happens to be going to the front. So on our front snap kick, we're going to aim the knee, kick and recover, set it back down. Okay, I'd like you to put yourself into your right side forward fighting stance. If you're looking at me, we'll be in mirror image now. Okay. First thing I want you to do is execute a knee strike. Pull your foot up right next to your other knee, right? Then set it back down. Here, set it down. Here, set it down. Now this time when it gets to your knee, let that be the triggering point for when you start extending your foot. So when it gets to here, it goes trigger, out and back and down. See, when it hits my hand, that's the triggering signal. And notice at the end of it, it's coming up, which is exactly what we want it to be doing. Okay, again, with your left foot, bringing it to the front, trigger a snap kick. Don't worry about where you kick height-wise. It's based on where your flexibility is right now. It will get better as you practice it. Try for groin height, which means aim for groin height with the knee. That's it. That's good. Good. Again. Again. And again. Okay. For future reference, if you do this kick in practice and set it down back behind you, we refer to that as a stationary snap kick because you didn't go anywhere. If you do the kick and then set it down to the front after recovering it, it's called a step-through snap kick. Now, why did I just emphasize after you recover it? Because if you don't recover it back, here's what it's going to look like. And on your way to falling forward, if you didn't hit him, he will certainly hit you. Okay? So whether you're going backwards or forwards, it's full recovery of the kick, set it down. Okay, assume your left side forward fighting stance. There we go, good, okay. Bring your kick up next to your knee, set it back down. Okay. Bring it up next to your knee, set it back down. Bring it up, set down. This time add the kick. Out, back, and down behind you. Up, out, back, and down, behind you. Up, out, back, and down, behind you. Up, out, back, and down, behind you. Okay? Now with that foot, step through with it, which means up, out, back, forward, switch your hands into your new fighting stance. Okay? If I start here and I end up doing it with a step through motion, these have got to change. Right? When I started to introduce the snap kick, I said because you might have something that will set up a vertical knee strike. If I kick Bob effectively in the groin, there is a good chance he's going to be bending over as I sit down to the front, and I can help him into it. That's why we want to recover to here and not be falling into here. Okay? We've got him to here, grab, set down. I'm not suggesting you practice that as a combination, but it's something to put in the back of your mind for what you'll do later on. Practice them individually now. The 3 things we've covered today. The lunge punch, remember the key is for the punch, the strike, to hit bob, reach full extension just before this hits the ground. We practice the knee strike, making sure that it's going up and that we pull the person into it if they're trying to harm us in whatever way they might be trying to. And the front snap kick or snapping front kick, where we pull the whole foot down, tuck the toes under. We're going to strike with the instep. We aim the knee this way and this way, up, out, back, and down, and that's the ball game. Okay, that's your new material for the day. By now, you know the practice routine. Our target is 350 repetitions, not this week, but eventually. Work towards it. Let me just throw in another caution. Don't overdo it. Overtraining in any one session is just as bad, maybe worse than undertraining, because it makes you more injury prone. We don't want that. So be diligent, but not a dingbat. Look forward to seeing you next week.